Yo, it's good. It's your man, 100 Grand Ross with The Rock Never Stops. The Toronto Raptors are back, y'all. They are back, whether you're ready for them or not. In this video, I want to talk about the outlook for this team this season as they look to turn a corner, heading up to the halfway mark, the trade deadline. What moves do you see them continuing to make, if any at all? I'm diving into that in this video. If you enjoy it, smash that like button for me. Hit subscribe and the bell for notifications. Look, let me just start off by saying, if you saw that last game against the Memphis Grizzlies, hot damn, we have not seen an explosive, offensive, and defensive Toronto Raptors in maybe the past 2 to 3 seasons. It has been a minute. It has been a minute since we have seen a team that has been able to dominate on both ends of the ball against a really talented team in the Memphis Grizzlies. If you watch the game, it was incredible to see just how much contribution that they were getting from every single position on the court within that starting lineup. And I'm not even talking about the bench unit yet, which I will get to. Seeing Immanuel Quickley in that starting lineup, he is something that I don't think that the Toronto Raptors have ever really had. And what I say is he is a explosive point guard on the offensive end. He has the ability to get into his shots with such ease that he has the ability to throw up 10 to 12 points in the span of a minute and a half. He's one of those players that if you blink and turn around and miss an assignment just for a moment, can completely shift the momentum in the direction of the game. He's got speed. He's got deep three-ball shooting. And he has the ability to finish around the rim in a variety of ways, as well as get out in transition. What he has been for the Toronto Raptors offense, almost single-handedly, has really been that shot in the arm that I've been talking about that the offense has needed. They needed somebody who can stretch the floor. And I mean truly stretch the floor. Nowadays in the NBA, it's no longer about being able to efficiently hit the three ball. Now it is about efficiently hitting the deep three ball. That means 3 to 4 feet, 5 feet, 6 feet behind the 3-point line. That is a considerable distance than what we have been accustomed to seeing, even within the Stephen Curry era. Right? Steph, for the most part, shoots the majority of his threes right behind the 3-point line. And what has made him special is his quickness in which he's been able to get the ball out of his hands so he can get his shot off against defenders. And he's able to do so from deep. Well, now that's becoming the norm. Now that's becoming the expectation for point guards. And the Toronto Raptors officially have one of those point guards. When I saw the game yesterday and the first game against the Cleveland Cavaliers, both games I kept walking away from saying there's a lot more from Immanuel Quickley that we're going to expect throughout the regular season. There's a lot more on the table. He hasn't quite tapped into maximizing who he is. And I contrasted that in the last video because I said, I think RJ Barrett is who he is, but he's just going to get better at him. Right? He's just going to get significantly better. And that was another area of high contribution that I want to dive into also. So I guess I'll segue a little bit now. RJ Barrett is a player who has his game. He probably has had his game style down since high school. And he transferred it to Duke and then to the Knicks and now in Toronto. Now, the advantage of that is that he knows his game. He's confident in his game. Right. And so he's able to maximize his skills because he's not trying to necessarily try new things as much as he is trying to make sure that he is more effectively and efficiently playing his style. He knows his pace. He knows the shots he's trying to get to. He knows his strengths. He knows his weaknesses. He knows how to set guys up in order to get to his strengths or when forced to his weakness to be able to determine if it's the time to try to score despite being forced into a harder shot or defer and kick it out. And the beautiful part was he showed a really good balance of being able to do so for the first 3 quarters. before Marcus Smart got in his head. But the beautiful thing about it was that there's so much talent around them and such, I would say, kind of a free-flowing continuity within the head coach's offensive system that there was no hesitancy to share that ball. Guys were getting 4, 5, 6 plus assists throughout the game simply because they trust each other on just kind of a fundamental level. And these are the type of instincts and these are the type of fundamental principles that you can see have been instilled by the head coach. We want to move the ball. We have an incredible amount of talent on the court. It's important that we trust each other and set each other up to maximize being able to get easy shots in the game. And we saw that throughout the game. Scotty Barnes, he was able to play, I would say, actually a very reserved game in this game. I think he was dealing with some knee soreness or knee pain. You always kind of get cautious when you start hearing that, but he is a young guy, so he was able to push through it, hopefully not too much. But you were able to see him take his foot off the gas. You were able to see him defer at times, right? Giving the ball back to guys like Immanuel Quickley and be like, you go, right? And attack your matchup. And they were able to do it. I don't think we would have been able to see this from Scotty Barnes in any other game throughout this season prior. He would have been in a position where you were asking him to keep his foot on the gas, to continue to add pressure, to continue to attack the basket because they did not have the offensive depth and explosiveness to be able to step in for him despite of it. And then when you looked at what Pascal Siakam was able to do, oh my goodness, if it wasn't for his foul trouble, Pascal Siakam was about to have a huge game against the Memphis Grizzlies. This was one of those games where Pascal was able to get to his shots with such ease, being able to attack the mismatches, that he was about to explode. Now, I'm not going to say he was going to have a 40 ball, 50 ball, something like that, but he was rolling, and y'all could see it. He was in his flow. There was balance on the court, and yet the whole time I kept saying, man, this still isn't even the top end of what this offense is going to be capable of when they're at full speed. These guys haven't even had a full training camp together yet. These guys haven't even had consecutive practices yet. This is a team that has just come together, and already you can see the pieces fitting. And fitting is a very important word because this was essentially why OG Anunoby was moved in the first place. Not because he wasn't a really good player for the Toronto Raptors, not because he's not a all-league defender, not because he isn't talented and that they didn't want him. It is because fit sometimes means more than talent, especially when you can get a return of talent that expands your talent pool to the same degree. There was no drop-off in what the Toronto Raptors have been able to do defensively. And I think that it's going to be something where we're going to see guys fall more into roles that are naturally suited for them so that they're not having to take on these extremely heavy and large roles, almost kind of how we see with the Denver Nuggets, right? Where guys are naturally slotted to play to their strengths so that they can play together at a high level. I think these guys in their roles in these natural positions are going to elevate this outlook of the team astronomically. But I want to continue to get through the rest of this roster so we can really reflect on what we're seeing. Jakob Poeltl, he's looking like, man, all NBA defensive center right now. And I mean, one of the things that's really important for centers is to have really strong perimeter defense. When they have strong perimeter defenders who are able to stay in front of their guys and force guys who are driving to the basket into tough shots, it sets them up to be able to block those shots. It sets them up to be able to defend that rim at a high level because they're already off balance. They're already worried about the guy behind them. They're already worried about help sliding over and hedging and different things of that nature. They're already in such a compromised position that sliding over, they don't have to completely sell out or leave their team vulnerable, leaving their own man because the guy with the ball is already bottled up. And this is a part of what's been allowing Jakob Poeltl to have such an impact defensively. But on the offensive end, what you notice is when you have four playmakers around him, he's constantly being set up for easy looks. Constantly. When you got guys like Quickley and Barrett and Barnes and Siakam all being able to beat their man off the dribble with relative ease. And I want to say that again, with relative ease. something that we were not able to get from OG Anunoby. Look, let's be clear. OG Anunoby is far more a front court player than he is a backcourt perimeter player. He's far more of an individual who is likely to back you down and use his body and back to the basket than he is to take you off the bounce. That's far more of a natural offensive rhythm for him to get into. Even though I would say he's definitely developed that perimeter skill of being able to attack off the dribble, that's not his natural propensity. But then when you see RJ Barrett in that role, you see the difference. You see the difference in somebody who grew up as a natural guard, if not playing point guard throughout high school and college, and then in the early professional career. There's a different level of ball handling and playmaking and ability to facilitate and make the correct read while attacking the rim. There's just a different level to this. And I would have to say, to the degree that RJ Barrett drops off defensively from an OG Anunoby, which just about anybody would because of how good defensively OG Anunoby is, he more than makes up for it on the offensive end between his shooting, playmaking, facilitating, ability to get out into the open court and make good decisions, whether it's passing and setting somebody else up or finishing off the break himself. He brings so much pop to this offense that I think that this team is not going to miss a beat at all. And then when we get to the bench unit, look, Dennis Schroeder has long been considered a great sixth man and an average, at best, starting point guard. Now, what this means for the Toronto Raptors is they have the type of backup point guard who's able to look like a starter at times, who's able to come in against opposing backup point guards and just dominate them and look like he is a league of his own, fully ahead of whoever he's facing. And that allows for him to be a dynamic playmaker off the bench. If you notice, him and Gary Trent Jr.'s chemistry looks really good when they're playing off of one another coming off the bench. And that allows this offense coming off the bench to have considerable pop. They have shooting, they have playmaking, they can get into their pick and roll. They're able to play alongside other starters, whether it's Jakopoto, whether it's Pascal Siakam, whether it's RJ Barrett, right? They're able to continue that scoring push that allows them to maintain a lead, that allows them to extend a lead, which was something that I don't think this team was even used to coming into this season, let alone throughout the early portions of this season. You know, it's funny, the commentator for the Toronto Raptors was saying, you know, they're so used to being down 10 points and trying to come back that I think it was a surprise a bit for them to have to maintain a lead, getting up by as much as 20 points in the game. There were moments where it was like, this was a moment for you to use the shot clock and not try to force a shot. This was a moment for us to slow it down. This was a moment for us to, you know, maybe work the ball around and get the best shot because you have that type of leeway. You have that type of extended time in the game because you're up. You're up. So you can get to the free throw line. You can work the ball around and look for the mismatch. You can matchup hunt and look for the advantage that your offense has. You don't have to push. You don't have to try to take the first open shot because you're trying to play with such pace that you're trying to catch up again. And I think that this is another adjustment the team is going to be able to make. Then when you look at Chris Boucher, and let me shout out Jonte Porter. You know how hard it is to stay ready as a bench player, as somebody who is not playing, to stay ready. He came in and gave 7.5 great minutes. Not just solid minutes, but great minutes. He was able to stand up Jaren Jackson Jr. a few times on drives, as well as Ja Morant, maintaining his verticality despite being ran into in his chest. He was able to secure rebounds. I mean, he chased down rebounds outside of his area, which is always a plus for big men. And he was able to make sure that he knew his game. He knew to get right into that pick and pop. And I think you're going to see a little bit more of his ability to pick and pop and also know when to dive from the perimeter when his shot isn't dropping, kind of in that Kelly Olynyk role, right? Now, Chris Boucher, maybe that lit a fire under him, seeing a bench role player get into the game before he did in his position. And I think we saw that. His energy was phenomenal. And I think that he was able to get to his shot. He was able to get to his spots. He was able to hit the offensive glass, get out in transition. I mean, he was just nonstop active for the Toronto Raptors. And that was absolutely beautiful to see. And when we start seeing this, I mean, we're not even seeing Jalen McDaniels yet, Thaddeus Young. I think we're going to see this team have far more depth for the first time because guys are being slotted into natural positions. Now, when I start looking at the outlook for this team, they're currently, 6 games beneath 500. They're in the 12th seed in the East, but they're only a half a game out of the play-in tournament, right? Brooklyn is sliding. Atlanta is meh. Chicago is sliding, right? Cleveland is sliding, right? Orlando is struggling a little bit, losing 3 in a row. New York is meh, right? I definitely see this team, as always, knock on wood, healthy, being able to compete for a top 6 seed. Definitely. I think Indiana's a little bit too far ahead, and they're just rolling right now. But between Orlando dealing with injuries and Franz Wagner just rolled his ankle and looked pretty bad last night, was not able to return against the Sacramento Kings, there's a potential that they're going to continue to slide. Now, when I think about what other moves this team has to make, I don't think this team has to make any moves anymore. You have your all-star, all-NBA forward in Pascal Siakam. You have your Swiss Army knife defender who can do a lot of things for you in Scotty Barnes. You have R.J. Barrett who has the playmaking. You have Immanuel Quickley. You have Jacopoto. You have your bench unit. You have a lot of the pieces you need. This is a type of a roster where I would look and I would say, man, just looking at the roster, if they came into the season with this, I would say that they're probably better than a New York. I'd probably say that they're better than, or at least as good as a New York, Cleveland, and Orlando. Definitely have a better roster than Brooklyn, Atlanta, and Chicago. And so when I think about the long-term outlook, it's definitely playoffs. And they're going to give somebody hell. And I would love, as always, I love their matchup against the Philadelphia 76ers, whether they win it in the playoffs or not. That's a matchup that I look at and I go, yeah, Toronto should be more than confident that they can compete with them. But as always, I want to know what you all think. I'm super excited about the Toronto Raptors. They're back. It's good to feel excited again about this team because it's been a favorite team of mine for a while now. And they finally made the moves that allow me to really invest myself again this season. But as always, holler at me in the comment section. Let me know what you think. Like, subscribe, hit the bell for notifications. Sorry about the long video. Hope you stayed with me till the end. Peace.